Gear up, Scooter fam. I've made a decision. How's it going, guys? As I said, I have made a decision to purchase a scooter. But before I get into that, I wanted to go over a couple things. First of all, sorry about the podcast that I was supposed to be uploading. I did the podcast, but on my end, when I was speaking, I didn't record my own voice. And so when I went back and was editing the video to put it together for you guys, um, it didn't record my voice. So you couldn't hear my voice when I was speaking. The other guys came through, but I guess I muted my mic accidentally through the recording software. And so even though they could hear me on their end, I wasn't recording myself on my end. So that's I wasn't able to piece that together. I spent a couple of days trying to figure out how to maybe try to do that, but it was pretty much impossible. So now it was done. It was recorded. You can go see it on the Average Guy 1983's YouTube channel. I'll put a link in the description if you do want to see that podcast. Once again, apologize for not being able to upload it on my channel. I am planning on doing some podcasts. Obviously, I want to do at least once a week. I really want to stick to once a week podcast. That may be trickier to pull off than I hope, but I hope it's not. I hope it's fairly easy to put together. I get some regular people that want to jump on and do a podcast. I think I'm going to be doing a regular podcast with the Average Guy 1983 and possibly Tiger Grimtack and maybe the guy who was on our podcast this time, Mole Cricket. So let me just go ahead and say thank you to the Average Guy 1983 and Mole Cricket. It is us three on that on the podcast there. So great doing that podcast. Really enjoyed it. I regret that I didn't get a chance to upload it. Not a big deal, but yeah. So thanks to you guys. Thanks to those guys. Shout out to those to you guys. And once again, I'll be doing more podcasts. I want to try to do them once a week. I think the Average Guy 1983, we're going to do one maybe every couple of weeks, but I'm going to try to squeeze some in others in there as well. I'll see if that's successful. I don't want to, I would like to put it together that way, but I'll see what I can do. If not, hopefully at least a couple, once every 2 weeks we can at least do one, but I want to try to put something else in there to get a weekly podcast going, and then whoever can join can join. But I have to have more than myself there, so I've got to find some people that want to be regulars that want to jump on. If any of you guys are interested, please hit me up in my email that's in my profile. And so check out my profile, email me, and see if we can set something up. I'd love to do something ongoing if anybody's interested, please hit me up, and we'll see if we can put something together. I sort of decided, and you guys might have noticed as well, I'm sitting back a little bit ways from the camera than what I usually do, and that's just because I'm trying to change it up. So I noticed in my podcast with the Average Guy 1983 and Mole Cricket, and maybe the other ones as well, but everybody else is kind of sit back away from the camera, relaxed a bit, and I'm up real close, and I'm kind of in an uncomfortable position, I guess. I'm upright, and I'm it's okay, but I'm really close to my face is really close to the camera, and the posture is not really the best for like long-term type videos. Now, fair warning about that podcast. I think it's over 2.5 hours long, so it's like a really long movie. So fair warning on that. You might want to come back and watch it in chunks or something like that. He didn't split it up, so it's all one video on there on his channel. But it's I want to say an hour and 40 minutes maybe. So something like that. I mean, 2 hours 40 minutes. So yeah, over 2.5 hours. And I liked it. I enjoyed making it. I think it's a good podcast, but it does stretch on. And it kind of stretched on because it was just flowing really nicely. And I think you guys will enjoy it. But you better be prepared to sit for a while, and it may get old after a while. But if you guys want to check it out, I'll put a link in the description, or you can go over to the Average Guy 1983's YouTube page if you're already subscribed to this channel. If you're not, please subscribe to his channel, and I'll be doing more with them. I look forward to it. I love doing the podcast with them, and they really go really well. He does a good job of handling things on his end. He usually kind of runs the Zoom calls, and so that's nice. If I do them, I'll be running them, but he's been handling that for putting the podcast together. So great job, and like I said, I want to try to put more together. So I have, I'm trying to recruit, people for the podcast. Once again, you guys as well included. So that's, hopefully I can get that going. Next, I wanted to say that something I'm really excited about and really hopeful about is that Fluid Free Rides might be staying in business. I saw something on a post today earlier on one of the scooter boards that someone says that they are sticking around and they got funding to continue. And so I'm really hopeful that that's true, and really hopeful for lots of reasons. If they got funding versus selling out, that means they should honor all of the policies and so forth that I already have, such as continue to honor my warranty, which is great. Hopefully nothing goes wrong. I hope I don't ever have to use the warranty, but it's there for a reason, and just in case I want to use it, I'd like it to be there. On the other thing is as far as the ongoing support with the 50% off of parts. Down the road, I'm probably going to need some parts now and then, and it'd be nice to get a 50% discount on them from Fluid through the life of my scooter. So I'm looking forward to that if they stick around. So I got my fingers crossed. I'm pulling for them. Fluid, if you see this, I'm pulling for you guys, and I'm pretty pleased about it. So I do understand some of the issues maybe with the customer service when we were having some early goings of the Klima, and maybe that there's some reasons because of some of the lack of resources, capital, or something like that. Then I understand, and hopefully with this turnaround, you guys are gonna get going in the right direction and possibly beef up your customer service again. I heard it used to be really good, and so hopefully that's the case. I look forward to it, and obviously because I have a Klima and because you guys deal with they deal with NAMI, I think it's great news, and so I'm hoping that's true, and I'm pulling for it. So we're only a couple weeks away from where I thought there would be maybe doom for sure, but looks like there might be some hope, and I'm certainly happy about that. All right, so back to my scooter that I chose. I chose to get the Apollo Go, and no, it's not crazy and nothing super spectacular. But the thing is, I've had my eye on the Apollo Go for a while, and I really like the scooter for what it is, and I've considered it. I've been keeping an eye on it since I started watching scooters, and it's very similar to the Hover One Journey Max as far as specs go, and as far as like it's 350 watt motors, it's a 36 volt system. I think it's got a slightly bigger battery, like 18 amp hours versus 15 amp hours or something similar to that, and so it's got a little bit bigger battery, but the same basic voltage, same basic watts in each hub motor, which is 350 watts, and basically the same range. I think it has a higher top speed of only about 4 miles per hour or more. So I think the Hover One Journey Max gets up around 21 miles an hour, and then the Apollo Go gets up to like 25 miles an hour. They state 28, but in testing, I think it got up to 25 uh, in real world testing. So 25 miles an hour is great. That's about as fast as I go on the Klima. I'm not sure I've been faster. If I did, it's just been barely. 25 miles an hour is perfect most of the places I go. So I'm looking forward to checking it out. I'm looking forward to getting it. I think it's a great compliment to the Klima, and really a replacement for my Journey Max. So I'm gonna do something with the Journey Max scooters. At least one of them, because I don't, it's too many scooters. I have too many scooters around, and there's no reason for me to keep a bunch of Journey Max, those two Journey Max scooters. But I may keep one just to have kind of stuffed away somewhere, but I think I'm gonna get rid of one of them. So because the Go will essentially replace that type of scooter. It's under 50 pounds, fold it up and throw it into the trunk very easily. I haven't tried to fit the Klima in my trunk yet, and so I don't know if it would fit, but I'm positive that the Go will fit. The Hover One Journey Max didn't have a problem fitting in the trunk, so I don't expect the Go to either. Like I said, they're pretty basic, the basic stuff. Of course, the Apollo Go is a lot nicer than the Hover One Journey Max, and it's got full suspension, turn signals, an app that you can run as a display and so forth. And it's got some cool stuff. I don't necessarily care about those things as much, and which is why I've never really wanted to put a bunch of money into it. But I always thought the Go was priced right at $1,000. I always felt like it was priced perfectly, or I felt like that was a deal. Maybe where it is now, 1,100 is adequate. But I personally was never willing to pay more than $1,000 for the Apollo Go. And right now it's $1,099. But I did find a code. I think it's Flash Go or something like that. And I'll verify that and I'll put it up. But it's $100 off. It's $100 off coupon that I got, and I went to test it. I'm like kidding, because I saw it was $1,099, and so I went to test the code, and it worked. So I bought it. I jumped on it. I decided to pull the trigger, and I'm pretty excited, pretty happy about it. Get to test out the Go. I get to find out more about Apollo, and I've been looking at Apollos for a while, different ones. I've looked at the Go, the City a little bit. It's a little bit of a step up from the Go, but I just liked the price on the Go. I've been waiting to find a good opportunity. A couple of times I've seen it at $1,000, and I'm pretty close to trying to do something. So I just decided to pull the trigger on the Go, and it'll be here soon. I don't know if I'll get the chance to ride it a bunch. We got some cold weather coming for a couple of weeks, and so it may be a couple of weeks before I get to get any riding footage or go actually test it. But it's on the way, and I'll have some unboxing footage, and I'll have some test ride footage, range. I'll probably compare it to the Journey Max. I'll do a comparison video, and while I'm reviewing it, sort of talk about some of the differences between the Journey Max and the Go, because I do find them to be very similar. I mean, I know they're not really competitors. One's $1,000, one's like $500, and so. But you get so much more with the Go, and so I just want to see if those things, matter. I'm sure the suspension alone is enough to pay that kind of money, considering the kind of zero suspension you get with the Journey Max. Now the tires also, they're 9-inch tires versus 8.5 for the Hover One Journey Max, and so a little bit better. But they're also tubeless with puncture-resistant tires. So where I really don't enjoy changing the tubes on the Journey Max. It's one of the big things I really dislike. And so having these being tubeless and the puncture resistant, treated with puncture resistance sealant, makes me really excited about this scooter, and something that will replace the Journey Max, kind of offer the same things the Journey Max offered, being pretty small. And so forth. My wife as well she can take that. I like that a lot better for her riding it because once again, the suspension, it won't be as jarring and possibly cause her to lose control of the scooter or something like that. So I like this scooter for her a lot better. If she were going to go, we were going to go ride scooters together something right now. She's ridden the Journey Max a little bit, not really out anywhere, and we haven't really went anywhere together, mostly because I don't have a second helmet for her. So I'll get her helmet, and I think the Go will be much better for us to go on those trips. But I'll be covering it ongoing on the channel and see how it does along the way. And I'll be taking it, kind of switching off between the Klima and the Go for a while, and just see how that goes. Now, I'm not, like, once again, I'm not comparing it to the Klima. I don't expect to go to compete with the Klima at all. The Klima is a way nicer scooter, but it does compare similar to the Journey Max. So I'll be comparing the Journey Max to the Go, and kind of talking about some of the benefits of going from the Journey Max to the Go. If there's anything, that isn't as good, I'll talk about that too. I don't know until I get it and test it out, and look forward to that. And obviously for more content, so if I have another scooter I can talk about besides the Klima, I haven't had any real updates with the Klima. The Klima's great, but I just can't, so far, like, since I had, brake problems fixed and the rotors and all the stuff I dealt with, it's been a great scooter. Nothing else has been wrong with the scooter, just the brakes, which are fixable, which I'm not sure everyone would want to go through having to replace their brakes themselves. But when I did, that was not the, big deal. No big deal after that. It's been a great scooter. So I've got no complaints about it. It's doing well. I got over 215 miles on it so far. Pretty good. I don't think that's really enough to fully test a scooter. Maybe 500 miles will be a good kind of midway point, and then maybe 1,000 plus will be kind of continue on from there. But 200 miles, I feel like I probably rode. I've ridden my Journey Max scooters way more than 200 miles. I'm pretty sure, just based on the time that like I said, I used to ride them every single day. And I don't know how much I rode at any one scooter, but I know what those scooters are and what they can do and what they can't. The Klima, I'm getting a good feel for the scooter. I'm getting very comfortable with it. It's becoming very natural to jump on it and run somewhere. I really like it a lot. But once again, I'm going to try the Apollo Go and see how that compares. I know the suspension is going to be, I hear it's really decent for such a small kind of scooter like it is. But I expect the range hopefully will be the same. I'm gonna be a bit disappointed if it's not at least as good as the Journey Max. So I've heard they say up to 20 to 30 miles, but I think it was tested at like 18. Which, interestingly enough, I think the Journey Max was tested at 20, 21, something like that, 20, 21, somewhere in there. I want to say it was 20 to 20, just about 20 miles an hour, 20 miles of range, pretty much for the Journey Max. Now, this one's supposed to go as high as 25 miles an hour and only get about 18 miles of range. So now, in real world, I get about 18 usable range. If it'll get a couple of miles or not, I'm not sure, but the battery's drained enough to where I'm not getting the acceleration and so forth. So there's noticeable less hill climbing ability. It still does it, but at a very much lower speed, and just doesn't have the same acceleration. I was still able to get up to top speeds, but not as fast. And so those are when that becomes easy to notice. And as far as the Journey Max, it actually does a pretty good job of that most of the time. So it's pretty easy to notice when it doesn't have that. And then I'm down to my last bar, and so I could tell the performance is slipping. We're down to the end of the battery, and that was about 18 and a half miles, somewhere in there. So I did a test. Of course, for me, make little trips here and there, but a couple trips actually are right around 4 miles each way. So it's an 8-mile trip, pretty frequently. And so I don't usually charge my Journey Max until I've made two of those trips. So 2 trips, let's say to Walmart, or 2 trips, across town or whatever. When I say cross town, it's about 4 miles in either direction, as far as I usually go. So 8 mile trips are normal, or less for me. So a couple of 8 mile trips on the Apollo Go, 16 miles of range with plenty of no worrying about dropping in acceleration. I mean, that's just what my Hover One will do. It'll take me 2 trips to Walmart without any noticeable differences. Only only towards the end I've had it happen twice with the voltage dropping, and to the point where it was noticeable and I wasn't having the hill climbing ability and so forth. One time was when I did the range test all in one day. And so I went out all in one day and just did a range test, see how far I could go. I went out a couple different times during that day just to keep stacking up the miles. And I want to say I got about 18 and a half miles on that. During that day, all I added up is what I calculated. And that was the day that I got, that such low speeds down to the last bar. I wasn't really comfortable with trying to go much further anyway. So, but it got me home fine. I didn't have to walk it. I didn't have to call my wife to come get me, none of that. So that was great. So I want to do a test. I haven't tested the Klima in one day, but it has an odometer. It's not really necessary. The Journey Max does not have an odometer. And there's no app or anything like that with the Journey Max. So there's no way for me to actually know exactly how many miles I've went, or how on my GPS is how I know how many miles the trip is. So I know how far it is to Walmart and back. I know how far it is to other places that I go, and so forth, the stores. So when I go, I track it on my GPS. Before I knew how to get there on my scooter, because I like to take residential roads a lot of times. So I'll map it out on my GPS. I don't use my phone normally. I'll put the GPS. I put the earbud in my ear, so I'm listening to directions, and I put the phone in my bag or something like that, and just listen to directions and follow it as I go. So, while I'm doing that, I map it out on my GPS, and I know it's about 4 miles each way. And then once I got the Klima, I took 2 different routes. I took the residential roads, and I took the other, just a straight shot that has a bike lane to a sidewalk, and still 4 miles. So it didn't matter which way I sliced it. It was 4 miles to Walmart and back. The other place I do use residential roads to go to down the other direction, because there's no bike lanes. It's just a bunch of crappy sidewalks. So I use residential roads on those, which I kind of like anyway. But so I'll be taking some of those same trips on the Pro and finding out how many of those I can make before the battery starts to get to a point where I'm not really comfortable continuing. So it doesn't matter to me if it can get 20 miles. It doesn't even matter for me to get 30 miles. If I can only go 18 miles before the voltage starts to get to the point where I have to worry about walking, then I'm not going to chance it. I'm never actually going to go 18 miles. So it doesn't do me any good to say that it goes 18 miles. So the Journey Max may go 20 miles, but not well. It'll go about 18-ish well before you start getting concerned. So it'll go 16 solid, solid with no issues, without a concern at all. So that's what I'm hoping to get out of the Go. That's what I want to get out of the Go. If I can make 2 solid trips, 8-mile trips, without having a concern, no concern at all, then that's fine. Now it's cold out, and that may change a little bit and so forth. But I haven't ridden the Journey Max much in the since it's been cold, because I have the Klima. And I'll get this probably while it's cold, but I'm not going to run out until it at least gets a little bit nicer day. But we got some nicer days coming up pretty soon, I'm sure. And I'll get out and ride, and we'll see how those things go. I'm not going to put too much on it if the weather's on the chilly side, but it's certainly when it gets into the nicer, we'll sort of compare and see how it goes. Like I said, we've got some 70 degree days coming, I'm sure, at least in a couple of weeks. So I'll find out on that. Meanwhile, I'm still looking at other scooters. I only, I have a larger budget than what I spent. And so I still have a possibility of possibly getting another scooter. I still haven't made up my mind on that part yet. If I'm gonna do something like that, this one I wanted to do. I liked the deal. I've been looking at it, and I felt like it was a situation that I wanted to try, and so I did it. I went for it, and I'm pretty happy about it. And I'm interested to learn more about Apollo and the Go, and sort of getting a feel for that and sharing my experience with you guys. So I'm pretty happy about that and excited. But once again, I'm still going to be looking at other possibilities as well, and that could include another scooter. It could include an e-bike or something similar. So, just talk about some of those things that are maybe still on the table, because this isn't it. Likely, it might be. If I just don't find the right situation, I'm not gonna do it. This was the right situation for me. I'll keep my eye on it. My code worked, so I pulled the trigger. The Solar Hyperion, although that would be a squeeze, it's not impossible that could still happen. I'm really interested in that scooter. I'm concerned about a couple of things. I've heard they're trying to replace the motor controllers or something like that. I'd like to get some confirmation that either they're doing that or they've done that, or if I have problems that it's not going to be a big deal to get ones that work. I just want to be assured of that. The other thing with the split rim, I'll have to test out, but I'm willing to take a chance on that. I am, if I have to. And the Max Fun 10 Pro, I still have my eye on that scooter as well. I like it for the price. I think it really offers some good value, and it's still interesting. Still a very interesting scooter to me. Lastly, as far as the regular scooters, stand-up scooters, the Cruiser V2 from eMove, the dual motor, still got some interesting things about it. Once again, it's got the split rims, and they seem to do a really good job with the Roadrunner Pro, and I assume they've done as good of a job with the V2 dual motor. They do the V2 as well, but it's only the hub motors that I believe that are split rim. So in the dual motor they will be, and I like that idea. Things that I don't like about the Cruiser V2 are the adjustable stem. I don't like adjustable stems. I don't like them. I've looked at them. I like the solid one-piece stem. I don't like the two-piece adjustable stem. Not too concerned about moving my hands from here to here. I'll get used to that. The basic stuff. The Apollo is going to be completely different than the Klima. The Klima is way different than the Journey Max. I don't know. It's a scooter. It just doesn't. I'm not that picky when it comes to that. So I don't want to. I'm more picky about the sturdiness of the scooter and the stem. The Klima's got a kind of a flimsy stem. It's kind of thin, especially at the top, and gets a little bit bigger at the bottom, but still not even as big as the Journey Max. So the Journey Max is a really solid feeling stem. And I mean, I'm not saying it's a better scooter than the Klima or anything, but the stem is really beefy, and I like that. I like the beefy stems with very little play, no play in the Journey Max. Less play, the better. I want it to feel solid, and so the two-piece stems. I'm sure that people like them. We talked about them a little bit in the podcast and so forth, but I'm not sold on them, and so that's why it's less likely that I would go that way. It's not a deal breaker, but I'm not leaning in that direction, mostly for that reason at this point. All right, then if I decide to go with something more like an e-bike or something like that, the Roadrunner Pro is still in the running as well. maybe the things I like a lot about the Roadrunner Pro. I like what it does. It's got good specs. It's got good, um, it does well. Up to 50 miles an hour. It's supposed to be 50 miles of range. I don't think that's real world, but I probably wouldn't need more than it can give me in range anyway. So that would be okay with me. I really like the split rim. I've seen a video where they did some PMT switch, and it was seamless. They just had popped it off, put the PMTs on, popped it back, aired it up, didn't have to strap it, nothing. Boom, the bead sealed, and I couldn't. I'm like, that's impressive. If I could, do a change like that with any tire at all, that would impress me. Considering it's a tubeless tire, which is also one of the things I like about the Roadrunner Pro is that it is tubeless. So in some of these other bikes slash e-bikes, scooters, the sit down type, a lot of them are tubes. Most of them are tubes that I found. So that's one big thing is I kind of like the tubeless tire of the Roadrunner Pro, and the other and the split rim. I mean the fact that it's converted, both of those things, split rim and the performance is good. It's got good performance, dual motors, all that. All right, another thing I don't like about the Roadrunner Pro, I'm just going to keep it very real. I don't like the way it looks. When I'm looking at other scooters that are sit-down scooters or e-bike type things, they look better. They look cooler. They look more like something I would want to get on. The eMove Roadrunner Pro, I like a lot of things about it, but most of them are specs, things that, the tire, you can switch it out and so forth. It can go fast, all these things. It has good brakes. Probably switch out the rear shocks, and then and if you want to add a battery later, it's a nice, beefy, give you what you want scooter as far as specs go. But you got 14-inch tires. Most scooters, e-bikes, though, that type of, in that class of PEV, they're like 20 inches is the minimum that I've seen. 20-inch tires. If it had 20-inch tires, it might look different. But it's got these small 14-inch tires, and these handlebars are out like this big, and it just doesn't look appealing. To me, it doesn't look cool. It doesn't look like something I'm like, oh man, I want to go ride that thing. It looks like it does the job, and I see people riding it, and it does do the job, but I don't like the 14-inch tires. They're a little too small for me, and it looks, I don't like the way it looks all put together. Big wide handlebars, little bitty tires. Just, I don't know. It's not exciting. So that's one criticism. A couple criticisms I have on the Roadrunner Pro. Obviously, the price I feel like should be a tad cheaper, maybe under $2,500. And then you got tax on top of that, so it's close to $3,000 all in all. Next up, I have the Motor Goat V3. They make three different types of scooter slash e-bikes at this, and especially the Motor Goat. The Motor Goat you can get with or without pedals, so you can get pegs or pedals like you can get with the Roadrunner V3 from eMove. So you can get pedals or you can get pegs, and pegs are cheaper if you don't get pedals. So I like that scooter. I like that, e-bike scooter, whatever you want to call it. Depends on if you get pedals or not, I guess. And I like the way it looks a lot. That's a beefy looking scooter. It's powerful, very similar to the Roadrunner Pro, spec wise, and it's a really nice scooter. And side by side, I think just looking at them, the Motor Goat V3 wins easy, just based on looks. I don't know how they would, compete on, one another as far as like 0 to 15 or 0 to 30 or whatever it is. But I can just tell based on the look and based on the beefiness of of the Motor Goat, the bigger tires and so forth. That just it looks like more something I would like to jump on and ride. Next is the Ghost Cat. They have the FX3 or FX3 Pro or something like that. But anyway, they're coming out with a Ghost Cat FX4 Pro, and that's going to go over 40 miles an hour. I like the way the Ghost Cats look a little bit. They don't look much like the Motor Goat or the Roadrunner Pro. They look more like maybe like a mini Suron or something like that. They kind of look like a motorbike. They're made for the streets, really, but they kind of look like, motorbike. They got the way that they're kind of designed, like a motorbike, e-bike kind of thing. And so they look pretty cool, and that performance of that bike is pretty awesome. So, and because they're coming out with an FX4, it's supposed to be a step up from the FX3, which I think goes 30, 37 or something like that. This one's supposed to go over 40, which is pretty cool. I believe all the scooters that I've listed so far can go up over 40. The Roadrunner Pro, the Motor Goat, and the Ghost Cat can all eclipse 40 miles an hour. Then another e-bike I've talked about before is the Filoto. I mentioned that a buddy of mine has a good friend that has an H8 Filoto, which I believe is the dual motor, dual battery version, and loves it, has had it, for a while and had no problems with it and uses it all the time. And so my friend got to ride it when he went to visit him last, and he really enjoyed riding it. So it can, and it goes, 35 miles an hour or so. Now that's the H8, and you can get it right. I think you get the single battery version for like $1,000 on Amazon, or they have it for like $1,100, I think, on their site, on Filoto's site. But the one that I'm really interested in, the one that I'm really looking at, is not the H8. It's a 60 volt. They have a couple, I don't remember the names, but they have 2 different 60 volt versions of the Filoto coming out. This one is a single battery, but it's a dual motor, and it's 60 volt, 2,000 watt hub motors in each, so 4,000 total nominal, and that thing goes over 40 miles an hour. So that's pretty impressive. I know Filoto to be a reputable brand, personal recommendation. So that's a really good thing. If I can trust that brand. My buddy's had the H8, or his friend has the H8 and had a really good experience with it. I'll be willing to take a chance. And now they're putting out there. It's not out yet. I think it's coming out in a week or so. But it's the Filoto 60 volt version, and I really like that scooter. E-bike. That's definitely an e-bike. But it reminds me of kind of like the Wired Rides and the e-cells. It kind of looks like that. But once again, it's got dual motors, 2,000 watts, and it's $1,500. So if you compare that to the Wired Rides or the e-cells, then it's way different. The basic Wired Rides is $2,000. It does give you the extra battery, but it's a single motor. The dual motor Predator is much more than $2,000, and then you get over to the e-cells, and their dual motors are also quite a little bit more expensive. And the e-cells 2000 version, as a single watt, only comes with one battery. You can buy the extra battery, but for $2,000 you just get one battery. For the e-cells, their version of that same bike. Another bike that I'm looking at is the Aniokis. There's a couple different ones on there I like. I like them for their range. I like the 60 volt batteries. I think that's crazy range for an e-bike. And they've got some good ones starting at about $1,500 that I like. Going up from there depending on what it is. Some single motors, some dual motors. I don't think you can get a dual motor for $1,500. But there are a couple single motors I think are decent. And it's the range I'm really, really interested in. Seeing some things. Now, I know they've had their issues. I'm not intimidated by doing a little work on them. So I'm fine learning how to work on them. And from what I hear, Anioki is good about support. They've had their issues with their e-bikes, but they're supposed to be really good at the customer service and trying to find solutions for you. So I would know that going in if I got an Aoki that I may have to get my hands dirty, roll up my sleeves, and put some elbow grease into it. But that would be okay with me. The other one, the last one that I've been looking at, and this is kind of one of those things, kind of like the Motor Goat again. Not quite as nice as the Motor Goat. Doesn't go quite as fast, but it's the Mila DK300 Max, and I like the way it looks a lot. And it's a really good deal at $1,500. It goes like I think 35 miles an hour, which is fine. But it's not the 40 plus mile an hour scooters and e-bikes that came before it. One of the Aoki's goes up to 45. The others the ones I'm looking at go at least 30. So 30 plus is fine for me. But the Mila looks really cool. It's got 2 batteries, the Max version, 2 batteries, it's got dual motors, and it just looks really cool. So it's probably the most basic, e-bike, whatever, out of this group, for the most part. It's got good stuff on it, but it's just not these other ones are a little bit nicer, just a little bit nicer. But I like it. I like the way it looks. It looks rugged. It looks clean. It's got a charm to it. It's got a certain charm. This rough, rugged kind of cool vibe to it. And I've seen what I've seen on it. People have modded these. They really like them. So and I think I can get around $1,500 for that one as well. So some of these from $1,500 all the way up close to $3,000 still maybe. We'll see. But that's what I'm looking at right now. It could be anywhere in there. It could be something else that comes up that I don't see. But I'll be keeping my eyes out probably over the next month or so. And meanwhile, I'll be focusing on the Apollo Go. So guys, if you enjoyed this content and you found it helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. Consider joining my Patreon, picking up some merch, or buy me a coffee. Thanks, and happy riding.